friends. Today we are talking about the three things that every woman in her 40s must do to find herself in this critical and empowering decade. One of my favorite parts of what I do for a living and what I do for work day in and day out is have countless conversations with women, either moving into their 40s or squarely in that critical decade. And that feeling of potentially drifting, feeling lost, not quite yet settled into this new brain and body and desire that we have bubbling up to keep growing and transforming in this critical season of life. All of these conversations that I get to have two little things happening side by side. One is usually a moment of pain and difficulty or feeling trapped or challenged or not exactly where we want to be, struggle of some sort. And then right alongside that pain or difficulty is a desire, is a spark, is something within that wants to become, wants to evolve, wants to come forth. And we're caught usually as we're in this finding ourself era, we're caught in between what feels like is holding us back and where we most deeply want to go. This topic of, as a woman in your 40s, allowing yourself to evolve, allowing some things to come undone, and allowing some things that we don't even know yet, but can feel like an inkling of what wants to come forward. I love holding the space for these conversations. And it is my true belief that every single woman out there has access and deserves to re-find and reconnect with an inner world of freedom, of self-love, and of self-definition. There is a source of love within that wants us to be who we most truly are. And that sense of self and that love that I'm talking about, that power that can happen when a woman truly becomes her own, frees herself from any external or internal limitations placed upon her, when we can tap into the life that our soul most desires for us to live, that truest source of power comes from within. And so often, especially when you come into midlife, we've been really used to looking for all of these external indicators that we're where we need to be, that we are lovable, that we're doing a good job, that we've created something of a life, that we're showing up in our life in a way that other people value and care about. And what is essential in your 40s is to locate a power within and to find yourself in a brand so that you can really set the stage for this next era of well-being, of personal growth, and of transformation. I really believe that every single person, but since I'm speaking to moms, every single woman has specific gifts and talents, have specific longings and specific leanings toward bringing more love, more connection, more well-being to the world. But we have to unlock in our 40s something within to be doing that in a way that is aligned with our highest purpose, our highest ability, and that brings actually more self-love and more fulfillment within. So if you are nearing your 40s or in your early 40s, or maybe I'm catching you in your late 40s, you are in a threshold moment of your life. After you became a mother, your life completely changed and you started to go through this disorienting time of not knowing who you are and what you are and how to do your life to accommodate this new, amazing, and beautiful role of mother. Some point along the way, when your kid or kiddos get to be just a little bit older and you've oriented yourself now to the new landscape of living your life with this thing that happened to you, this wonderful being or beings that have happened to you, then your soul and your deepest self is going to start wanting more. It's going to wonder, what else is there? Who else am I outside of this role of mother? And that first inkling, that first questioning usually feels a little painful and disorienting because it is unknown. It is not yet defined. And so there are three things that every woman in her 40s must do to start to define, to claim, and to step in to the next era of your identity evolution. When I think about an identity evolution, I think about finding yourself more freely, more deeply, more boldly than you have yet in the past. I think about finding our unique passion and feeling a sense of purpose and joy and vibrant enthusiasm for this life that we have to live, for the role we're playing in our own lives, and for the way we want to be in our world and the way we want our relationships to evolve and mature and kind of raise that bar higher. Think about how much information we're given as new moms about all the different milestones that happen in a baby's world, moving in from babyhood to toddlerhood. There's so many markers and there's so much emphasis placed on each developmental task that your child is going to go through and that you're going to try to participate in and influence and show up for in the best way possible. Think about how visibly different your child looks if you look at them from 1 month old to 9 months old. And think about how visibly different they look from 9 months old to 9 years old. That developmental process in less than a decade of time for a young child is incredible. They're capable of doing so many different things between 1 and 9 years old. They visibly look completely different between 1 and 9 years old. And the little being that you get to see emerge and evolve, what a delight to see their personality and their capabilities evolve. What I don't think is being talked about enough, and which is why I'm dedicating a podcast episode to this, that I think that same kind of skyrocketing, kind of almost unrecognizable, the beginning of the 40s or just before to the end of 40s is an amazing decade that a woman is going to go through. I feel like I am completely different at 45. I'm almost 45 than I was at 40. The last 5 years have been profound in how much I have evolved and grown and changed. I can't wait to see where I'm at when I'm in my last year of my 40s, entering into my 50s. Personal growth, the sense of self, the growing self-love, the wild abandon for living a life on my own terms and nurturing relationships that are deep and enduring and meaningful. I feel so lucky. And I want to share that with you all. And I kind of reverse engineered a few key things that I have really committed to in the last 5 years. And now I'm thinking that we all can commit to them, and I will be doubling down on them with you, my friends, as we are finding ourselves and redefining what our lives and sense of self looks like in 2026. So the 3 must do's is, number 1, make a commitment. So there's a commitment that I'm going to ask from all of you, is to let your unfolding be visible. You heard me right. Not like kind of working on yourself and trying to learn and grow and do that kind of quietly and privately, and then bringing the like finished draft, the polished version of yourself out into the forefront. That is not the way that we can evolve in this season of our life. The only way we can evolve is to let our emerging, let our transformation be visible, both to ourselves. So make it overt and make it a priority in your day to day, in your month to month, but also to others. There's a real courage that is required to letting yourself be seen in progress. There's a real vulnerability in not sharing the finished project, but the work in progress. But it's been my experience that the more visible I make myself, not yet finished, not yet figured out, kind of learning and growing and stumbling and kind of playfully moving forward, the more visible I've made that, the more rapid my transformation, the more skyrocketing my self-love, my self-acceptance, and a sense of freedom and self-definition. It's like I need that discomfort of the messy undone to be seen in order for the transformation to occur more quickly and more profound. So can you commit to freeing yourself, to moving toward love, to moving towards self-definition and learning more about yourself this year, wherever you're at, even if you don't know what's at the end of that? Can you commit to that being a visible process? That you try to make it visible to yourself and you also show it to other people. I wonder what that would look like to choose a handful of people to make it visible to. I wonder if you would be willing to let your little poems or your little ideas or your small works of art and your small projects and your willingness to try something new and look foolish and not know how it's going to be received or not know if it's going to work out or not know if you're going to be good at it. I wonder if there's something you've been wanting to try and something that you could make visible in your learning and in your trying. This podcast is a great example of me learning and trying and making it visible. And I so appreciate all of you who are listening and holding space for my becoming in this space. Thank you. The second must do that I am claiming for myself and for all the women listening is to share in the journey. So the first is you're going to make your evolution visible in some way. You're going to show the messy middle. And then number two, you're going to share in the journey. So find someone, a therapist, a friend, a coach, a mentoring group. Like, hello, that's why I made the Vibrant Mom Collective available for anyone who wants to participate. Find a small group or find a couple of people in which to gather. Find a place to be known, to be seen, to be encouraged, to practice showing the real, unpolished, unfinished version of you. Most of the women I talk to are professional women. We have big careers or big dreams or big things we're trying to put out in the world. And we're really used to in our face knowing what we know and being able to deliver what we can deliver. And we want our presence to be as polished as what we have worked so hard to build and to learn and to know. And what's so crucial for our evolution and our unfolding is that we allow ourselves to be unpolished, unfinished, to not know, to be clunky, to be awkward, to be learning and flailing. We need that in order to grow. Otherwise, we'll stay trapped and imprisoned behind the self that we've always known, the self that we've curated and grown into. But for that next era, that next identity evolution, it's got to get a little ugly and messy and uncomfortable. And if we can share that with others who will hold space for us, who will celebrate our unpolishedness, that will help coax out the little threads of things that we don't quite know if it's something, but maybe it might be. That's the only way we're going to really move forward and start becoming, is sharing in the journey. And I think this can be really challenging in our 40s. It's really common. I can't tell you all how many conversations I have with women on a weekly basis where they feel like their friend group has changed. Maybe their kiddos are in a different age range than the women that they had been gathering with before, and they're nap trapped, or their kids are older now and their friends' kids are younger, that we can kind of outgrow our friend groups that we were comfortable with in the past. Or maybe just the way that we're growing and changing and what we're interested in talking about or stepping into, the people that we were gathering with before don't share those same interests. And there can be really painful friendship changes where we used to be close, but we still love each other, but that spark or that mutual effort isn't there anymore. And we can find ourselves in really lonely places in our 40s, not knowing who we can share ourselves with, who is really aligned with the type of conversations, the type of ways of being together and being within ourselves that we feel like we're growing into. Sometimes these specific individual relationships change, or actually groups of friends change. And I think it's a under talked about, but really important part of identity evolution in your 40s is to start to find new people to share the journey with, to learn how to make friends again, to learn how to deepen friendships. These are really vulnerable and important skill sets that we might not have had to flex or exercise, but that midlife really calls us to find deepening, rewarding, like soul sustaining relationships with friendships and with a partnership. Whether we have one already or we're entering into a new era with our partner and we're wanting to bring more intimacy, more closeness, more connection with our partner. These are friendships and partnerships evolving and changing and needing to be reinvigorated and reinvested in. This is part of the work in the 40s. So we've got to share in the journey. And if you are looking for a home of big-hearted, smart, caring, funny, but deeply courageous women, I mean, come into the collective. There are cohorts filling and always a space available to find a wonderful fit for women who care about the same things and want to skyrocket their growth this year. So the third must do is to set the tone for yourself. So when you're in a place of finding yourself or becoming, that is sometimes a really uncomfortable process. Sometimes it feels like you're in the dark, that you can't really see who you are, where you're headed, what you want, what you desire. I feel like every other year since my son has been born, so this is maybe 4 times in the last 9 years, I have gone through what felt like a dark period, not a dark like depressed, but dark like not visible, like hard to see. What do I even want to do with my free time? What really is actually filling me up? Who do I want to spend my time with? What do I do with the limited time that I have? I think I've gone through these periods where I don't really quite know. And each one has been a growth spurt. And an analogy kind of came forward for me is that we can get from point A to point B, even if we've never driven that stretch of road in the dark. So it's dark. We don't have the daylight to show us where we're going. We can't see far down the road. We're driving a stretch of road that we've never driven before. So we don't know where the twists and turns and ups and downs are going to be. We can drive any stretch as long as we have headlights. When we turn our headlights on, about 3 to 4 feet of roadway is illuminated for us. So if we can turn on those headlights and we can see that 3 to 4 feet, and if we commit to driving just that 3 or 4 feet, then all of a sudden the next 3 to 4 feet gets illuminated. And we can get 3 to 4 feet at a time from point A to point B in the dark while we're patiently waiting for that sun to rise and for more clarity to unfold for us. So if we can set the tone of we are going on an adventure, we are going on a treasure hunt. And yeah, it's scary. We don't know where we're going. We don't know who will be at the end of it. We don't know what we'll meet along the way. But if we can turn on the light for ourselves and see it as like at each 3 or 4 feet, there is a little nugget. There is a pearl of wisdom. There's a little flower to see. Like we can gather these little bits and pieces of treasure along the way. We can just be faithful to our 3 to 4 feet. And a year from now, I promise you, my friend, you will be in a whole new place of knowing yourself, of being in the world, long as you commit to that tone of a light on treasure hunt and that idea of we're going to go on an adventure and we're just going to do this next stretch of the trail, this next few feet in front of me. Where we stall our growth is we're waiting for clarity to come before we take action. So we can see that 3 to 4 feet, but we want to know much further than that before we move. So we keep our car parked or idling and we don't go forward. We could spend months like that, years like that, waiting and delaying our growth. To find yourself in your 40s, it means you must set the tone of adventure and treasure hunt. And each 3 to 4 feet, you will learn something new. You will find bits and pieces, clues of who you're growing into, but only if you commit to moving forward a few steps at a time with only what you can see in front of you. So it requires a diligence and a faithfulness to watch and wait and then take a couple steps as you track your unfolding. And the tone that I want to invite you to set is that it can be a real joy. It can be a real adventure discovering bits and pieces of yourself along the way. And a real inner strength, a real inner fire, a real inner vibrancy starts to get cultivated and built every time you're faithful to the next 3 or 4 feet that's illuminated in front of you. So if you've been feeling like a little lost, a little drifting, a little unsure of who you are and where you're headed, welcome to the disorientation that comes right as you're crossing the threshold into the you that you are becoming. You are right on time for your transformation and your identity evolution. And so the 3 things you need to be successful on your journey and to skyrocket your growth is to make the commitment to let your becoming be visible, to share in the journey and be brave in finding a small group or a handful of women to share in the journey with, and to choose to set the tone to be one of discovery and adventure, to see real value and joy in the process, even when it's uncomfortable because it's in the dark and you're not quite sure exactly how it's all going to unfold. So much is changing for you. Your kiddo is changing and getting older 1 year at a time. Your body is changing in midlife. Your brain is changing in midlife. Your desires for your work, for the types of connections you want to have, for the intimacy that you want to be able to step into in a partnership, for this real companionship with yourself and the possibility for an emerging and evolving identity. And with all these changes usually come big fluctuations of emotion. We get scared, we get self-conscious, we get imposter syndrome, we get encouraged, we get lit up, we get joyful, then we get disappointed and we experience loss and grief. And then we get angry and irritated and frustrated and we get it all. We experience that full range of our emotional world and we experience all the pockets where we haven't yet grown beyond the difficulties that we experience and re-experience on the inside. My friend, in your 40s is the perfect time and the best time to go on an emotional maturation journey, to find yourself anew and start to create a life that feels built brick by brick, choice by choice, one that is the most vibrant life you can imagine. And if you want mentoring on that journey, if you want to fast track your understanding of how to do that, especially the emotional inner world piece, can I time collapse for you? Could we go on a journey together over the next year that will fast track your growth, fast track your skills, and fast track your emotional well-being so you're not held back? And so that this time next year, you can see your growth, you can track and feel that inner world freed up, lit up from within, as true to yourself as you can be. Can I collapse time for you and make sure that it's not 5 years from now or when your kids are in high school or when your kids are out of the house and then you start to do this work? Think of the time lost and the amazing relationship with yourself that you would miss out on if we just delay and wait. Give me a year of your time, and then you'll have a mentor and a group of big-hearted and smart and caring women there to watch your unfolding as well in the Vibrant Mom. It's there for you when you feel like you're ready and you're feeling the pull. Now, I have a question for you. At the end of this podcast, which of the three must-dos feel most relevant to you? Is it making your emerging and your unfolding and your coming undone and then your rebuilding visible? Or is it committing to finding maybe a new or renewed full of relationships that can share in the journey with you? Or is it really empowering yourself with the mindset of setting the tone, of going on an adventure, on a treasure hunt, and patiently and faithfully and diligently looking for the little glimmers, the little sparks that let you know I'm finding something new about myself, where you're really letting yourself have a period of time under which you'll go through a journey of self-discovery and transformation. Which of those three feels like the most important must-do for you as you're entering in this new season of life? If you'd like, you can send me a note in the comments below and let me know which of the three is your to-do this week. Thank you so much for listening and spending part of your day with me. I can't wait to continue the conversation.